So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Reynolds, and I serve as the City of Dallas's Senior International Affairs Coordinator, where I lead the city's international division. On behalf of the City of Dallas, we welcome you to this U.S.-Africa Business Summit briefing. And before we move on to this amazing info session, I'd like to highlight a few things of international significance for the region and for Africa. On May 6th, the City of Dallas will open the first Tanzania Chamber of Commerce in the Dallas International District's Prism Center. This will serve as one of the many gateways to Africa in our region. And it's only fitting for me to mention it here as we learn more about businesses and trade through this summit and how critical Africa is in our growing world today. In addition, with the City of Dallas's new international affairs strategy, we are dedicated to collaborating and building international prestige with our partners, surrounding cities, and citizens across the world. With that said, the summit supports these goals, and we are honored to host this incredible U.S.-Africa Business Summit from May 6th to the 9th at the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. Without further ado, I would like to introduce one of the key players bringing this critical summit to our region. Mr. John Alajide is an entrepreneur, investor, care-at-home innovator, civic leader, global community builder, and philanthropist. He is the founder and CEO of Access, the leading global home healthcare technology company headquartered here in Dallas. He is also the founder and chairman of Cavista Holdings, a diversified holding and investment company with interests in technology, agriculture, hospitality, fintech, energy, and other sectors. In 2020, John served as the youngest ever chair of the Dallas Regional Chamber of Commerce's Board of Directors. In 2023, he was appointed chairman of the board of the Corporate Council on Africa, which we'll hear more about shortly. John, thank you so much for being with us to talk more about this upcoming summit.
Well, thank you, Max, and good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Max, and thanks to Mayor Johnson and his team as well for providing this opportunity to introduce the Corporate Council on Africa and talk about the upcoming U.S. Africa Business Summit. I know a lot of you are busy, so really thank you as well for joining us today. As some of you know, I recently took on a 3-year term as chair of the CCA board. CCA is the Corporate Council on Africa. And just so you know, last year, the Corporate Council on Africa celebrated 30 years of being the only business association solely focused on promoting trade, partnerships, collaboration, and investments between the U.S. and countries in Africa. And CCA is also an organization that supports both U.S. and African businesses and is nonpartisan and takes a nonpartisan approach to engaging with governments, not only in the U.S., but in Africa as well. The U.S. Africa Business Summit, organized by CCA, is the most important gathering. So I want you to remember that it's the most important gathering for business executives who want to engage with the U.S. and African governments and explore opportunities in Africa. So I'll tell you my personal example. I, for one, leveraged the past summit to learn about opportunities in Botswana. And today we've successfully expanded our business into that market. I am proud and delighted that the next U.S. Africa Business Summit will be held here in our home city of Dallas, and I cannot wait for us to showcase all the special things about Dallas. So Flora Lazier, the CEO of CCA, will provide more details, but I'm counting on all of us working together to ensure that Dallas is the best host city the summit has ever had. And I've been sharing privately as well that I want the summit to be so successful that it'll come back to Dallas. Historically, it's been held in Washington, D.C. It's the first time something like this is leaving that area to come to Dallas, and I'm excited about that. I want to make sure that we all roll out the red carpet for the African political and business leaders to send a very strong message that we're ready to do business with them and deepen existing partnerships. You'll hear from Flora in just a moment that Texas has the largest African diaspora population, and our Dallas region is a third in the country, behind New York and DC for African diaspora as well. So there are existing partnerships, but we want to deepen those partnerships as well. So now I would like to introduce Flora Lazier, the President and CEO of the Corporate Council on Africa. prior to joining CCA, Flory had a 30-plus year career in the U.S. government and retired as the Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for Africa, where she led trade and investment policy toward 49 sub-Saharan African nations. I got that right. And oversaw the implementation of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, also known as AGOA. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Flory Lazaire to take us through the presentation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, John. And just let me say how grateful I am for your active engagement and leadership of Corporate Council on Africa. Previously as a vice chair of CCA's board of directors, and since January as the chairman of our board. And I want all of you to know that this is the first time that we have an African diasporan who is in that important leadership role and position at CCA. John, your wisdom, your insight, and your energy are elevating our work, and together we will take CCA to new heights in strengthening the U.S. business relationship in Africa. Well, I'm pleased to be here today with several senior members of my CCA team, our Chief Operations Officer, Hilary Lucas, Senior Director for Programs, Biova Kabin, Director of Conferences and Events, Joe Melissa Gonzalez, our Director of Marketing and Media, Stacy Pompey, and San Antonio-born Ambassador Carl Pascal, on loan to us from the Department of State. Carl most recently served as the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of the Gambia. And thank you to Mayor Eric Johnson and the Office of the City Manager for tasking a tremendous professional, Mr. Max Reynolds, to be our day-to-day partner to prepare for a successful Texas-style successful U.S.-Africa Business Summit. Thank you, Max. Now, I am told that we are going to show a brief teaser video for the summit.
Corporate Council on Africa proudly presents the 16th edition of the U.S.-Africa Business Summit, taking place from the 6th to the 9th of May. After 2 consecutive years of gatherings on the African continent, Morocco in 2022 and Botswana in 2023, the U.S.-Africa Business Summit returns to the United States.
There's so much that we can do together to build a stronger U.S.-Africa business engagement.
Texas hosts the largest African diaspora population of any state in the United States, making it the perfect backdrop for this transformative convergence. Join us as we transfigure Dallas into the epicenter of U.S.-Africa collaboration for 4 days of knowledge exchange and impactful networking. Once again, the summit will bring together over 1,500 visionaries, including heads of state, international investors, government officials, and industry leaders from both sides of the Atlantic. Under the theme U.S.-Africa Business Partnering for Sustainable Success, the 16th edition of the U.S.-Africa Business Summit aspires to be a breeding ground for sustainable business partnerships.
President Biden instructed a U.S. government to really prioritize trade and investment.
The United States is focused on what we will do with African nations and people, not for African nations and people.
Engage with an exceptional lineup of 100+ business and government leaders on solutions to today's business challenges in agribusiness, finance, energy, health, infrastructure, ICT, creative industries, and more. And unpack the latest developments in AGOA, AFCFTA, as well as pathways to financing.
The U.S. government is intent on helping to facilitate the environment for business, for trade, for industry. So look at us as your partners.
Don't miss out on the leading U.S.-Africa gathering. Join us in Dallas from the 6th to the 9th of May, where ideas will flourish, connections will be forged, and partnerships will soar to new heights. Visit our website and secure your seat. The 2024 U.S.-Africa Business Summit is proudly brought to you by Corporate Council on Africa.
CCA is
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. And I hope that our short teaser video did indeed tease you to come and be a part of the summit, to participate in this summit. Let me just say a little bit about Corporate Council on Africa for those of you who may not know us. I see some online who know us well, but we want to make sure that you know that CCA, that our focus is singularly on the mission of providing the access, connections, and insights to grow U.S.-Africa business. We promote mutually beneficial U.S. trade, investment, and business partnerships through collaboration that spurs private sector-led economic growth and benefits the enterprises, workers, and people of the United States and African nations. The U.S.-Africa Business Summit is CCA's signature event. In its 30-year history, CCA has organized 15 summits, both across Africa and here in the United States, as well as thousands of other events that hosted scores of African heads of state and American presidents, countless African government ministers, and U.S. government cabinet secretaries, members of Congress, and most importantly, thousands of African and American business people. CCA's members include U.S. and African companies, small and medium-sized firms, all the way to major multinational corporations in key sectors driving growth: energy, agribusiness, health, manufacturing, IT, security, defense, and others. Among our members in the Dallas area or Texas more broadly are AT&T, Citi, Coca-Cola, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Cosmos Energy, Caterpillar, and John's own company, Access. Though not based here, for any fans of the Dallas Mavericks of the NBA, you should know that NBA Africa is also a CCA member. So why did CCA decide to bring the summit to Texas? Well, most of you are Texas-based, and you know well how many Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, and Global 500 companies are here. You know of the various accolades Dallas has received. You are at or near the top for innovation, infrastructure, connectivity, both digital as well as transportation connectivity. But as John was saying earlier, some of you may not have known until he shared that you are also, Texas is the highest African diaspora population, 12% of America's total. And metropolitan Dallas, as John said, has the third largest African diaspora population among U.S. metropolitan regions after only New York and Washington, D.C. So why did we decide to bring the U.S. Africa Business Summit to Dallas? Well, because CCA wants to connect the best of Africa with the very best that America has to offer. So why Africa? Africa has the world's largest free trade area now, the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AFCFTA as we call it, with a young population and a surging middle class driving purchasing power and demand for goods and services, especially American brands. Africa also has vast hydrocarbon and renewable energy resources. 30% of the world's proven mineral reserves, including critical minerals, and 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. Surging investment in technology and digitalization and intense development of the continent's infrastructure, from roads to railways, ports to power generation and distribution, and expanding delivery of health services to meet post-pandemic demand for health products, including production of vaccines and medicines. So why Africa? Because every business looking to grow should be looking at Africa, developing and strengthening business partnerships and seeking out and seizing the enormous business opportunities that Africa offers. For those of you who are already there and operating on the continent, and for those companies considering Africa, just remember, CCA is your partner who will support you every step of the way. So why should you participate in the summit? let's recognize, I think, some of the people who have joined us and who partner with CCA. We value those partnerships. But for those of you just hearing of the summit for the first time or who have not yet decided, the summit will be a one-stop shop where you and your business will engage with more senior African and U.S. leaders, heads of state and government ministers from more than 40 countries, and high-level U.S. government officials, including from financing agencies like Exim Bank and the International Development Finance Corporation, as well as numerous U.S. and African CEOs and executives. Our summits have in the past drawn over 1,500 attendees, and I am optimistic that this summit this year in a city that is a hub of U.S. and international business will set a new record for attendance. After all, everything is bigger in Texas. Between high-level presidential dialogues and plenary sessions and sector-focused panel discussions and gatherings across the range of topics from IT, including the artificial intelligence revolution, to agribusiness, to health services and manufacturing, to the creative industries, aviation and security and more, this summit will offer opportunities for companies large and small to make or renew contacts, find partners, or get advice and facilitation if you are looking to enter the African market. CCA Summit always brings together high-level African and U.S. government officials, among them heads of state and government from Africa. We are excited and privileged that we will be hosting thus far the presidents of Botswana, Cabo Verde, Malawi, and Togo. And President Masisi hosted our summit last year in Gaborone, just a tremendous event that led to numerous business partnerships like the one that John Olajide told you about that Access now has on the ground in Botswana. And we are now talking to and in the process of confirming additional heads of state, of government from Lesotho. I think we just heard today that the Prime Minister of Lesotho is coming. Nigeria, when we met with President Tinubu recently in Abuja, he actually promised us openly that he would be here, and we're just waiting for the final official word. We're also expecting heads of state from Morocco, Mauritius, and Mozambique. And by the way, Mozambique is also a past host of the summit where we took it in 2019. Well, we hope to confirm those heads of state this week and early next week. And when we confirm, we'll be updating our website. The summit affords an incredible opportunity for business organizations, nonprofits, and governments to showcase their brand through sponsorships and exhibit booths. Sponsorships have varying benefits at the different levels, and details can be found on our Business Summit website. I believe that Max Reynolds has in fact already included that website in his invitation and reminder emails for today's event. And please feel free to reach out to Bioba Kabin, who oversees our sponsorship program for the summit. In addition, we have exhibit booths that come in a range of sizes, and we have incredible space at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center for our exhibitors, where high foot traffic area guarantees exposure. That said, we are rapidly approaching the deadline for the graphic design and production work necessary to have these exhibit booths set up and ready to go in time for the summit. So please make sure to make a decision soon for your booth and to contact Jo Melissa Gonzalez if you have more questions about the exhibits. So let me just share how to register to participate. There's a registration link that you'll be able to find on our website. You see on screen here, it's USAAfricaBizSummit.com. Please feel free to register. We have discounts for a number of the businesses in Dallas. We've been partnering with the Dallas Regional Chamber and John was the former chair of the DRC and had us introduced to them when we visited Dallas back in January. So thanks again, John, for introducing us to the DRC and all its incredible members. We hope that all of you will be coming and that you'll register for the summit. So let me just say now that Corporate Council on Africa, in wrapping up, is grateful for our partnership with the city of Dallas, as well as the Dallas business community. The time is truly now to promote U.S.-Africa business success. And the place to do that is in Dallas in May at the U.S.-Africa Business Summit. Working together, we will make this the best summit ever. Thank you for your time and attention. John Olajide, his team at Access, my team at CCA, and I are here to answer any questions you may have. And I believe that Bioba Kabin, our Senior Director for Programs, is now going to moderate a Q&A portion. So we turn it over to Bioba, and please just raise your hand, use the raise hand feature, or type your question into the text box if you have any questions. We look forward to answering all your questions and sharing more about the summit. We're excited that we're going to be in Dallas in May.